From ancient myths to advanced alien technology, Assassin's Creed weaves a complex web of secrets that span history and reality itself. What if the legendary Pieces of Eden weren't magic relics, but powerful tools created by a precursor civilization? Let's dive into the true origin of these mysterious artifacts, unraveling how they shaped humanity's fate long before the Assassins and Templars ever battled for control. The true origin of the Pieces of Eden. The Pieces of Eden are often seen as mystical relics, but in reality, they're high-tech tools created by the Isu, a precursor species who ruled the world long before humans. Made from a synthetic metal that interacts with human neural systems, these artifacts aren't just shiny trinkets. They literally manipulate thoughts, emotions, and even reality itself. Some function as mind control devices, others warp perception, and a few may even bend time, all containing embedded AI or stored consciousness. Famous assassins like Altair and Ezio first stumbled upon these artifacts, discovering their true power was technological, not magical. Fast forward to modern players like Desmond Miles or Layla Hassan, who unlock buried memories tied to these pieces. Meanwhile, the corporate Templar faction Abstergo relentlessly chases these artifacts, aiming to dominate humanity by controlling their minds and histories. Here's the kicker. What ancient humans called miracles or gifts from Eden were actually tools of oppression designed to enslave minds across millennia. The name Eden itself comes from the Isu city where early humans were kept as slaves, tying human mythology directly to Isu technological enslavement. This twist reveals a dark paradox beneath centuries of legend and faith, transforming stories of paradise and divine power into narratives of control and rebellion that span prehistoric times to today. The struggle for these pieces isn't just about power, it's about who controls the very concept of free will. If you think these mind-controlling relics are wild, wait until you hear about the Adam and Eve rebellion that first challenged Isu rule. The identity of the Adam and Eve rebellion. Adam and Eve in Assassin's Creed aren't just biblical symbols, they're the first human Isu hybrids who led a major uprising against their Isu overlords around 75,000 BCE. Before you roll your eyes, hear me out. What feels like myth is actually a reimagining of intense genetic resistance. Eve, far from a passive first woman, is portrayed as a fierce leader fighting for humanity's free will, pushing back against Isu enslavement. Official lore makes it clear that this rebellion is the origin story of assassin ideals. Desmond and others uncover their saga through ancient Isu archives and genetic memories in the Animus, piecing together fragments that show Adam and Eve not as sinners, but revolutionaries challenging a cosmic slave system just as a solar catastrophe looms. Eve's hybrid nature, half human, half Isu, implies that genetic manipulation was not just control, but a tool for survival and defiance. Here's where it gets dark and complicated. The biblical sin of eating forbidden fruit is less about moral failing and more about seizing knowledge. Isu technology that was meant to suppress humanity, but ends up igniting freedom. This flips the sacred narrative on its head. Instead of submission to gods, it's a fight for autonomy, with Eve's leadership carving a path towards centuries of resistance that prefigure the Assassin Brotherhood. The moral ambiguity deepens as this sacred story is rewritten from the perspective of oppressors and the oppressed. Was Eve a hero or a heretic? We see the birth of that conflict simmering beneath religious texts, encoded in mythology, but grounded in real violent rebellion. But if you think this ancient hybrid revolt is the earliest spark, the real game changer comes with the Great Cataclysm and how the Isu responded with desperate plans. That's up next, the Great Cataclysm and the 6 Isu solutions. Around 75,000 BCE, the planet faced what would become known as the Great Cataclysm, a massive solar flare so devastating it wiped out both the advanced Isu civilization and the early humans beneath them. You'd think a godlike race capable of creating the Pieces of Eden could casually shrug off a sunstorm, right? Turns out no. Before you roll your eyes, hear me out. The Isu weren't sitting ducks. They devised 6 incredibly advanced solutions to prevent or mitigate this disaster. These included a series of colossal towers and experimental technologies designed to absorb and neutralize the flare's energy, along with more arcane and theoretical approaches. Leading this desperate defense was the Capitoline Triad, Minerva, Jupiter, and Juno, who coordinated planetary-scale efforts, building vaults and sending messages across millennia in hopes of saving Earth. But here's where it gets weird. Jupiter's vault messages, discovered by modern assassins like Desmond, reveal the bitter truth. Every method failed. The towers couldn't handle the storm, the experiments didn't pan out, and the cataclysm wiped out nearly all Isu and humans alike. Worse, Jupiter's warnings include a chilling note of a second solar flare on its way. This isn't history, it's a ticking time bomb for Desmond and the Modern Brotherhood, who race to activate Isu Vault technologies buried around the world to stop another apocalypse. Complicating things, the Isu were divided during this crisis. Some focused on fighting the human rebellion, while others tried to save both species. This factionalism diluted their efforts and arguably doomed their survival chances. It's a cosmic tragedy on a scale hard to grasp, and a cautionary one too. Even a god race can fall when blinded by war and internal strife. So, while the Great Cataclysm ended their empire, it set the stage for everything that followed: scattered vaults, fragmented artifacts, and the ongoing fight to prevent history from repeating. If you think counting failed godlike disasters is grim, just wait until we dive into one of the most coveted pieces of Eden with a modern location nobody can pin down: the Koh-i-Noor Diamond. The Koh-i-Noor Diamond's missing location. Here's a mystery that straddles the line between documented assassin history and modern-day silence. The Koh-i-Noor Diamond is confirmed in AC lore as a piece of Eden. Not just a precious jewel, but one of the most dangerous artifacts in the franchise's entire catalog. It reportedly has the ability to bind and amplify the power of other pieces of Eden, making it a wildcard that neither the Brotherhood nor the Templars can afford to let fall into the wrong hands. The documented history begins in 1839 India, where Hidden One Arbaz Mir fights to keep it from Templar hands during the turbulent Anglo-Sikh Wars. The Templars, specifically Raza Shami, wanted the diamond not just for its material value, but for its Isu properties. Understanding that the Koh-i-Noor, in combination with other artifacts, could shift the entire power balance between the two factions permanently. Arbaz eventually secured it, but the events surrounding its protection cost lives and reshaped the Brotherhood's presence in the subcontinent. But here's where the mystery deepens. After the Koh-i-Noor's documented 19th century use, its trail goes cold. It surfaces again in the Assassin-Templar conflict in the 20th century, trading hands between operatives and serving as leverage in the ongoing Shadow War. Then it disappears again, and nobody, not the Brotherhood, not Abstergo, not any fan deep diving into Animus archives, has a clean answer for where it went. The missing location in the title isn't a metaphor. The franchise genuinely leaves the diamond's current whereabouts unresolved. Fans have speculated it's hidden in the network of assassin caches maintained by the Modern Brotherhood, or that Abstergo quietly acquired it through back channels and buried the paperwork. Either way, silence has surrounded it for decades. What makes this especially unsettling is the Koh-i-Noor's compatibility feature. Certain lore suggests only female users can access its full power, which raises enormous implications for who could wield it in the modern conflict. If Layla or another operative found it and understood what it could do alongside active pieces like the Staff of Hermes, the entire power dynamic of the Reader conflict changes overnight. A piece of Eden that amplifies other pieces is too dangerous to leave unaccounted for, and yet it is. The diamond is real, its location is not. And in Assassin's Creed, that combination is exactly how the most dangerous objects stay dangerous. If you thought this diamond's story was wild, wait until you hear the truth about the Shroud of Eden next. An artifact wrapped in death and resurrection secrets far darker than a missing jewel. The true fate of the Shroud of Eden. Shrouds of Eden are among the rarest and most mysterious pieces of Eden, famous for their powerful healing abilities, far beyond ordinary medicine. These artifacts can restore health and even pull people back from the edge of death. But here's the kicker. Some shrouds seem to communicate directly with their users, almost like they have a twisted, semi-conscious will of their own. Renaissance figures like Giovanni Borgia and Perodo Calderon reportedly heard the shroud speak, influencing their decisions, not your typical magic cloak. On the surface, a shroud looks like a miracle device, defying death itself. And in Assassin's Creed, that raises huge ethical questions. If these shrouds grant near immortality or stop sacrifice, what happens to the balance of power? Mortality and sacrifice are core themes in the Assassin-Templar conflict's moral fabric. Using a shroud could let rulers cling to power forever, wrecking the natural cycle that prevents tyranny and stagnation. Jump to modern times, and both Templars and Assassins are racing to find Shrouds of Eden, their goal, bringing back key figures or healing critical operatives to keep the fight alive. But if these artifacts exist, their locations are a tightly kept secret. We don't know where the Renaissance Shroud vanished, or if Abstergo even cracked its mysteries. Here's where it gets darker. The Shroud's communication suggests it's more than a tool. It's an influence, maybe even controlling its bearer behind the scenes. so the power it grants might come at a price. Subtle domination replacing healing. And what about Desmond? His death seemed final, a true sacrifice. But with shrouds in the picture, could resurrection be possible? Fans imagine fallen heroes returning, blurring the line between life, death, and artificial power. The Shroud of Eden remains an elusive mystery, capturing Assassin's Creed's biggest theme, the clash between human limits and the temptation to rewrite them with ancient tech. If you think that's wild, wait until you hear about the Sage and Ida's strange saga. The mystery of the Sage and Ida's reincarnation. Sages are some of the most fascinating and unsettling figures in Assassin's Creed lore. They aren't just rare humans, they carry something much older inside them. The embedded memories of Ada, an Isu who died before the Great Cataclysm. These people are living archives, genetically programmed to inherit Ada's consciousness across history. Before you roll your eyes, hear me out. These aren't reincarnations in the spiritual sense, they're engineered. Juno, Ada's wife and a master manipulator, set up this entire reincarnation network to keep Ada's mind alive long past his death, so the Sage's identity becomes a confusing blur. They struggle to merge their own self with a consciousness tens of thousands of years old. Imagine a voice in your head shaping every thought, and it's not even yours. Historical cases show how extreme this can get. The Templar Grand Master Jacques de Molay was a sage, as was craftsman Thomas Cavanagh. Sages pop up everywhere, from high-ranking Templar leaders to random people infected with that ancient memory virus. When Ada's memories wake up, these hosts get visions and knowledge beyond human, often losing their grip on reality. It's a psychological roller coaster many don't survive intact. Here's where it gets weird. Juno's plan wasn't just about Ida's memory, it was about creating hybrid agents who could influence the Assassins-Templars conflict for millennia. Modern factions want control or knowledge of sages because they wield a power neither humans nor artifacts alone can match. Abstergo calls sages hyper-hominids, upgraded humans with Isu cognition. This raises dark questions about consent. The hosts never choose this fate. They're caught between biology and ancient programming. Are they human or puppets for a dead god's will? If you think that's strange, wait until we dive into Loki's story, an Isu whose reincarnation takes things even further. The fate of the Isu known as Loki. Loki is either the ultimate puppeteer or the most complicated ghost in Assassin's Creed's long mythos. The truth? He's both. And his story connects Norse legend, ancient sci-fi tech, and modern assassin politics in a way that still sparks debate. Before you dismiss this as just another villain origin, hear me out. Loki didn't simply die or vanish. He embedded his genetic code into humanity through Yggdrasil, an Isu nexus, a living tree that acts like a biological supercomputer for reincarnation. This means Loki created a backup of himself hidden inside certain humans across history. Basim ibn Ishaq from Assassin's Creed Valhalla is one such incarnation, a direct vessel carrying Loki's memories and ambitions. Basim's story is wild. As a hidden one in 9th century Abbasid lands, he's rooted in real medieval history, but also straddles the line between human and godlike. His life echoes Isu myths about Loki's grudges toward Odin and a long-planned revenge, now played out as a reincarnation saga. Basim's skills and instincts aren't just human, they carry the weight of a cosmic grudge locked in his DNA. Jump to modern times, Basim returns wielding the staff of Hermes Trismegistus. This isn't just a fancy weapon, it holds the consciousness of Alethea, Loki's lover and another Isu entity. Layla Hassan's Animus journey takes her to that same Yggdrasil chamber in Norway where she accidentally frees Basim/Loki while joining the Reader system, an advanced Isu network controlling timelines. Here's the kicker. This isn't just gods meeting modern heroes. It's a flashpoint between digital Isu beings, Juno, Alethea, Loki, each battling for control over humanity's future through conflicting visions and power games. Basim's motives remain murky. Ally, threat, something in between? With centuries of pain fueling him, it's impossible to tell. This mix of myth and sci-fi reincarnation isn't just background fluff. It defines Assassin's Creed's latest conflict, a war not just between assassins and Templars, but between ancient Isu consciousnesses reborn in a digital age. The past never truly dies, it recalculates. But if Loki's fate feels complex, just wait till you hear about those cryptic warnings from Jupiter, Juno, and Minerva. The cryptic vault messages of Jupiter, Juno, and Minerva. The messages left by Minerva, Jupiter, and Juno are some of Assassin's Creed's most fascinating and maddening mysteries. These three members of the Isu Capitoline Triad recorded cryptic transmissions stored in hidden vaults, vaults, meant to guide humanity after their civilization's collapse. But here's the thing, their voices couldn't be more different. Minerva's message is the clearest and most hopeful. She speaks directly to Desmond, but through Ezio's memories, like a cosmic game of telephone, fully aware Desmond will watch centuries later. She urges him to find the Isu temples and recover their work to stop an upcoming cosmic disaster. It's simple. This is humanity's lifeline. Use it. Guidance from an ancient god scientist feels like a real shot at survival. Jupiter's message from Assassin's Creed Revelations is a cold, harsh truth. He reveals 6 methods the Isu tried to prevent the Great Cataclysm and how everyone failed. Then he warns of another solar flare threatening humanity, putting the onus on Desmond to find the central vault in New York and stop it. It's part history lesson, part urgent warning that ancient threats are far from over. Juno's messages are a whole different story. Initially fragmented and often corrupted, her communications to Desmond and Sean are manipulative and self-serving. Unlike Minerva and Jupiter, who aim to protect humanity, Juno's tone oozes ulterior motives, hinting at surviving by digitizing herself and influencing humans to aid her resurrection. Trust, not so much. Together, these vault messages shape Assassin Templar lore as a mix of hope and danger, advanced beings whose legacies confuse, manipulate, and guide human agents through cosmic secrets. Minerva's hope, Jupiter's grim warnings, and Juno's twisted schemes form a triad echoing through time, driving the missions that decide humanity's fate. And if you think decoding these was tough, wait until the reader and calculation tree come up. The ultimate purpose of the reader and the calculation tree. The reader is not just some background AI or forgotten piece of Isu tech. It's this abstract, almost godlike consciousness, formed in part by Layla Hassan after she dives deep into the Yggdrasil chamber. Think of it as the ultimate overseer, watching over the calculation tree, a mind-bogglingly vast model that maps out infinite possible timelines, splitting endlessly based on every choice made or event that could happen. This isn't just predicting a single outcome, it's an entire web of potential futures flowing and branching across time. Before you dismiss it as some sci-fi mumbo-jumbo, hear me out. The calculation tree represents the next evolution of the Isu's failed attempts to control history. Long gone are the days of just safeguarding pieces of Eden or influencing individuals. Now the fight is over the very fabric of time itself, deciding which threads survive, which fates are allowed, and which are wiped away. It's like the Isu said, control the timeline, control everything. The tree isn't an isolated system either. It integrates major artifacts like the Koh-i-Noor diamond, which supposedly binds the fate of all other pieces, and consciousnesses born of the Isu, including the sages and incarnations like Loki. Layla becoming the reader blurs the line between human and Isu, as her sacrifice inserts free will and assassin values into this cosmic arbiter. But that also means the tree is a battleground, a place where forces like Juno or other Isu constructs V to steer history in vastly different directions. Here's where it gets complicated, and frankly, a little wild. The struggle at this level isn't just physical anymore, it's meta. Modern conflicts extend into this unseen layer where timeline branches roll out like a giant game of chess. Which timelines get to unfold? Who decides the winners and losers, not just of battles, but of entire eras, civilizations, and the potential survival of free will itself? The reader, standing at this nexus, represents both hope and risk, a chance that humanity can guide its own destiny, but also the chilling possibility that all choices might be pruned by some higher algorithm. Layla's sacrifice mirrors Desmond's earlier fate, but pushed to a cosmic scale. Instead of dying to stop a solar flare, she dissolves into the very code of time's architecture. Meanwhile, Basim, carrying Loki's memory and wielding the Staff of Hermes, laden with Alethea's consciousness, emerges ready to influence this grand design. So what started as a war over artifacts has grown into a battle over reality itself, with every decision echoing through the branching calculation tree. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more, click the video on the screen now.